Hello, everybody. I'd like to welcome you to the Gmat Prep Camp Google Hangout. Today we have a lot of great presenters, and we will get started here in just a second. I just wanted to start off by giving a little bit of information about how the Hangout works. Your screen, if you roll over your video feed, at the top right, there will be an icon to click into some apps. Are the showcase where we might share some links and some other information. There's also a Q&A app that we're going to ask you to use to submit any questions. So if you submit a question there, we'll see it come up. We might select it and have the team answer it. So if you have any other questions about how it's working or any other information that you want from All right, it seems we're experiencing a little bit of technical difficulties. We're going to figure it out here in a second. Let me sit over here, broadcast over here. Second. Luckily, we're all in the same room, so we can use that fact to broadcast this properly. Get started right here, right now. Right. So,
Okay, hello everyone. Again, can you hear me? Okay, very good. I want to welcome everyone quickly. We are a little bit delayed, and so I want to say thank you, first of all, to our several distinguished presenters, and to talk a little bit about what we're doing and why. We want to introduce this concept of GMAT preparation and to promote the idea of preparation and its importance and its value beyond taking the test itself. Because the GMAT exam is one that tests for reasoning and problem solving, it requires a different style of study than you may be accustomed to. It actually is more practice than study. And I'll talk a bit about that in a moment. But first, a little housekeeping. When you want to go to take the GMAT, you have to first register, and you can only register on MBA.com at a test center. So you cannot test, or you cannot register elsewhere or at the test center. It is a secure environment. Over 600, we test in over 110 countries. So you should be able to find a test center in the country in which you're living. If you cannot, then please just inquire on the website at mba.com and find the test center nearest you. Now, back to preparation. When we look at world regions and how students perform on the GMAT, we see that African students do not perform as well as students from other world regions. And why is that? I'll tell you why it's not. It is not because they are less capable. It's not because they lack the capacity or the ability to do that. It is because they are less prepared. And why is that? It's because A, either they do not invest the amount of time that is required to prepare, or they don't understand how to prepare. And as I said, it is not really about studying in the traditional sense, in the sense that what you are used to doing, if you are a prospective student, what you are used to doing and studying is memorizing a lot of information and then being tested on how well you remember what you've studied. Oftentimes, if you were anything like I was when I was a student, then you probably waited until the last minute to study for the test, and you didn't do as well as you would have liked. This test is not, the GMAT exam though, is not a test of memorization. It is a test of reasoning and problem solving, and these are skills. Skills can be improved with practice, and practice takes time. If you look at the amount of time that is required, what you see is a chart in front of you that correlates the amount of time that is invested in study or in preparation and practice and the GMAT score range that you can expect to achieve. What you see there, for instance, is if we say 84 hours of practice, you can achieve a score of somewhere between 600 and 690. Well, if you think about 80 hours of practice, 8 hours a week for 10 weeks, right? 4 hours a week for 20 weeks, however you want to break it up, it still works to give you an amount of practice and familiarity with the types of items that are going to be introduced on the GMAT exam in order for you to score well. On average, African students spend less than 50 hours of study, of practice time. And so that is why you saw what you saw there. And so the message here is that you invest the time and use the materials that are available. There are several types, and you can find all of these on MBA.com. Go there to register for the test, to find information about the test, to find information about how to select a good school to attend, and where to get additional information as well. Okay, so with that, I want to pass things along to one of our other distinguished presenters from the University of Cape Town, Professor Elsa Smith. Elsa? She's muted. Elsa, you're muted.
1 second.
Okay.
Wait, Elsa, make sure you unmute.
Is that what you want?
There we go. Now we can hear you.
All right. Good. Well, first of all, thank you, Professor Siebert, because I think that puts it perfectly in context. The GMAT is often seen as the final stumbling block to an MBA acceptance. In actual fact, it's much more positive than that. That the fact you want to do an MBA means that you already are committed to making a difference in your education and professional life. And the GMAT is one of the ways in which you start this process because it requires you to start studying. And in so doing, you bridge the gap between having been a working person, most schools have a work requirement, and re-entering study. I again agree with Professor Siebert. The test is not difficult, it's unfamiliar. This is particularly true for students from Africa. We are not used to multiple choice under pressure of time. It's a different way of presenting what you know. So any preparation course is always immediately valuable because it de-demonizes the course. The learning on preparing for a GMAT is valuable long after the test. The test is obviously your first hurdle because you're busy looking at your score. But the learning on both the quantitative and the qualitative verbal side is huge. And both parts of the test will take you through to skills that will help you enormously on your MBA and beyond. I've been teaching preparation for the verbal aspect for a great deal of years, and the skills you learn there will take you past the GMAT to a whole set of abilities to write more effectively, edit more effectively, and ultimately develop your professional competence. So the GMAT is not just the hurdle, it is a very productive passage to your MBA journey and beyond. I see my colleagues from UCT are putting up their slides, so I think they're ready to say something as well.
Sorry about that. We might have had a mix-up with the slides. Oh, sorry. Please continue, Alison. We didn't mean to interrupt you with the slides there.
Oh, no, it's fine. I was trying to recap what Professor Siebert had said. I thought his measurement of 8 hours per week over 10 weeks was particularly useful because it gives the answer to how much is hard work. There's no doubt that steady, constant preparation makes a huge difference to making this test less unfamiliar and increases people's confidence. And all of us do much better in tests when we feel more confident. And the better prepared you are for the GMAT, the chances are, I mean, all tests have a slight gamble in them, that you will do better. But far more importantly, the skills in preparation will enable the applicant student to become a far more proficient student on an MBA program. And that's been my experience over several decades of teaching this particular prep course, as well as teaching many, many MBA students.
Very good, Elsa. Thank you very much for your comments. And I'm going to ask now that that Edward Mungai from the Strathmore University join us and provide any comments or insights that he might have.
Make sure to unmute before. There you go.
Yeah. Okay, thank you, everyone. I am with my colleague here, Maxwell, who is our MBA administrator, and we wanted to share with you our experiences in the Strathmore Business School on how we have used GMAT in our programs. If the slides do come up, I think you're trying to bring them up. We ran 3 master's programs here in the business school, and of these 3 programs, we have the MBA for Executives, and then in this MBA for Executives, which we run both as an evening and a modular program, is where we require students to take MBA, the GMAT exam. So what I want to share with you is, first of all, the kind of students we have been able to attract to the program. Secondly, a bit of the experiences that we have had in terms of admission by those students who are foreign students and have tried to come to us. And finally, we have had some students from us who have done Gmat recently, and we, in preparation for this session, we asked them about the experiences so that we can share with the participants. So first, in terms of our master's program, we, as I mentioned, we have 3 master's programs, and we have the MBA for executives, and which is structured in 2 formats, the modular and the evening program. Then you have 2, just to mention, an MBA in healthcare management, which is also in a modular format, and recently we started a master's in public policy and management, which we don't use the Gmat for admission. Now, for the MBA program, both of them, the modular and the one in the evening, we have used we predominantly use our own. Okay, we have the next slide, please. Yeah, let's go on.
Sorry about that. We're working on it here.
Yes, next one. So for our master's programs, there we are. Next slide. Next slide. There we are. Okay. So we predominantly use our own internal examination, but when you have applicants from outside Kenya, where we are, we require them to see the Gmat. Then you can be able to compare with them. And what we have found out is that even though the Gmat is not a mandatory requirement for some of our students who are based in Kenya, they opt to see the Gmat if they want to improve their chances of admission. So, for example, when they do sit on internal exam, we have a cutoff point, and some of them opt to go and do the Gmat. Then they can be able to score a bit higher and come to our program. One of the things we find is that maybe because of the levels of income in Kenya, the cost of Gmat exam is a prohibitive factor to most of the applicants. So they opt for our own internal exam. Unless they do not pass, then they consider doing the Gmat. Now, what we have found then, going to the next slide, please. Yes, so looking at 2014, we have had our admissions, and from our Gmat registration with GMAC, we have found that of the students that have sent scores to us, very much supporting what has been said, predominantly they are from Africa, and they range between 340 to 520. We took an average of 406, but in previous years we have had applicants who have scored up to 600 applying to a school. So just in line with what Ron has said and the other people, is that the scores are low compared to what happens globally. And if you look at then these students that we had there, we had an average of 460, which is on the lower side. But try to manage the fact that we want to encourage foreign students. We had to opt to take one of these students that applied from outside, that we can maintain a mixture of foreign students. I need to mention that also this is not the only requirement, as we also require work experience and people who have worked in different areas, and that is why we took these students that had this kind of a lower score. Next slide. Okay, then on those students from Kenya that are working with us or have been our past students, and we know that they have taken Gmat in the last 1 year, we sent out an email in preparation and asked them what is the experience that you can share with participants. And you can see from this slide, very much in line with what has been said. The first student we have said he spent 9 hours per week. For a duration of 2 months, they got a score of 510. We asked them how they prepared. They used a lot of online tutor materials. And the benefit they got, this is actually already, they got 2 scholarships in foreign universities. And for some reason or other, they have actually not pursued this scholarship because they wanted to go to a different university. But at least you see a benefit there of doing Gmat, that in fact you get this kind of benefits that you may actually not have foreseen. The second student, okay, the statistics are there, took 1 hour per day, 2 months, got a score of 500. I recommend that you need 6 months preparation to take the practice test. So that was the feeling of this particular student, that there is a lot of you can achieve, but you need more time for preparation. This particular student is actually one of our students. We actually gave him a scholarship, to join our program because of other reasons. So he's actually one of the students in our program. And the third student had a lot of a rush, was actually trying to apply for a PhD program, was a bright student. As you can see, says he had good quantitative skills. Only 1 week, but spent 11 hours per day, so which is quite about 77 hours. Scored what is obviously a high score, 750, and didn't get admitted to the PhD program. So he's actually working for us as a graduate assistant as pursues another program for PhD. And then finally, we have another student who took 4 hours per week, and 4 hours per day, a score of 660. And you can see that, as has just rightly been mentioned, he found the question of English a bit tricky and said, be wary of this. This student is currently applying for PhD, and we hope that they get it. So these are the experiences we have. I think in general you find that good preparation there for help, and it's not just a question of the skills that you get in preparing for the exam, but even benefits that otherwise you may not have been exposed to. I think that's what we have to share for now. Thank you very much. Back to you, Ron.
Thank you, Edward. I realized that our colleagues at the University of Cape Town didn't have a chance to express their views. Professor Smith, while she is in Dubai, the other UCT colleagues are actually in Johannesburg, and in Cape Town, and so I would like to give them a chance to have a word or two before we move on to Famolex.
Great, thank you, Ron.
We're pulling up your slides now.
Oh, you're pulling up the slides, okay. All right, thank you very much. I just firstly like to say sorry for being a bit late. We had some issues with our computer connection, so I'd just like to say hello to everyone and forgive me if I repeat some of the stuff that has been said already. My name is Etienne Mostert. I'm a business developer here at the UCT Graduate School of Business. This is my colleague Linda Villiers. She's an admissions manager at UCT. Jeremy, if you could just maybe pull up the slides first, and I'll just take you briefly through what we have here today.
Second.
Yeah, can you? You can skip straight to the second slide.
Okay, 1 second. Just pulling up now. Okay. Second slide.
Yeah, that's it there.
Can you not see it?
What you see there is just the image of our school. This is just to give you a bit of context of where we are. We're based in Cape Town. If you look at the school, it probably looks like a prison. That's because it used to be a colonial prison, and it's been converted into a business school now. You can move on to the next slide. What we offer as a school, well, we offer quite a few programs, but our flagship program is our MBA program. We offer both modular and full-time program. Our full-time program is ranked number 52 on the Financial Times Top 100 program. Also, we're a triple accredited school. Just to give you some background about our applications in relation to the GMAT is that we run our program from the beginning of January every year. We have our applications open on the 1st of May, and our deadline is the 31st of October. So if you have any questions in relation to admissions of the program, you're welcome to email that email address that you see right there. Just in terms of preparation for the GMAT, you can skip to the next slide. We offer preparation courses, of which Dr. Smith is one of the lecturers. They are very useful, I must say. I actually was on the course before I did my MBA, and I found it to be very insightful and very useful to write a GMAT. And I just caught the tail end of Dr. Smith's speech and what she said about how the preparation skills for the GMAT actually help you beyond just getting into the school. It helps you a lot with your critical reasoning. Even to this day, you'd probably find that your quantitative skills would probably be slightly sharper, as well as your literature skills and your writing skills. So we offer both these preparation programs in Johannesburg and in Cape Town, and they run over, I think it's 5 days in total. So you're also welcome to get in contact with the Jody Martin, who's the program coordinator, and you'll see his email address at the bottom there. Is there anything else you'd like to add, Lynn? I think that's all from our side. Thank you.
Thank you. Now I'd like to ask our from Famolex Integrated Council, Mr. Fakiyesi, to join us. Make sure that your mic is off mute, please.
Yes, thank you very much, Ron. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Olakunle Fakiyesi. I'm the Chief Executive of Famolex Integrated Consult. We are a higher education consulting outfit. We work out of Baltimore, Maryland, and Lagos, Nigeria. So predominantly, we help students from Nigeria who want to get an MBA to prepare for the GMAT. In our experience working with students, we found out that the biggest obstacle for most of them is the GMAT. More often than not, the GMAT score will be a determinant in what type of school you can go to. Most students coming out of Nigeria want to go to really good schools, schools that have a pedigree, schools that have accreditation. However, to get to those schools, you need to get a really good score. A lot of factors, some of which have been mentioned, combine together to present a challenge to people when it comes to doing well on the GMAT. So what we try to do is we work with the students on a one-on-one basis. We try to identify the biggest obstacles. For some of them, it's a matter of not having enough time. For some of them, it's a matter of fear of the GMAT. Fear in the sense that for one reason or the other, because they do not have enough information about the GMAT exam, they think it's so difficult. We try to calm them down and let them know that, fortunately for you, the GMAT is not going to be testing calculus or any difficult mathematical concepts. So all you need to do is actually invest your time and get to be familiar with the material. So once you get familiar with the material, it becomes a lot easier. So that we as much as possible, try to put them on a personalized plan and make sure they stick to it. Then secondly, beyond going to business school, in a country such as Nigeria, the GMAT has a lot more value than just using it to apply for business school. Because when you go to business school and come back, if you plan to compete in that economy, it's very commonplace for the blue chip companies to subject you to a test, an employment test. And more often than not, most of the questions that come from in these tests, they are GMAT adapted. So as you're preparing for GMAT, as you're sharpening your quantitative and verbal reasoning skills, you are also sharpening those skills because you will need them post-MBA when you get to write the pre-employment test of so many of the blue chip companies that operate in Nigeria. Another challenge we see with Nigeria is the challenge of geography. Because it's a very vast and diverse country, people in different population pockets across the country also have a challenge with getting access to that information. And that's also part of what we do. We try to work as much as possible with captive audiences, so that we go there and make presentations and run awareness sessions about the GMAT exam, about the value in preparing for the GMAT, and about the outcomes if you prepare the way you're supposed to prepare, with particular emphasis on making a clear-cut difference between study and practice. So for most of our clients that come out, we've also identified a gap in the sense that some of these challenges come from when the students are in school. Now, when the students are in the university, they get to learn a lot of technical skills depending on the course of study they are going through. You know, they get to learn a lot about accounting or engineering, but they really don't get to learn a lot about test preparation. If you don't know how to prepare for that test, no matter how good you are in your area of core competence, the GMAT will always be a problem when you want to scale the hurdle and get into business school. So we are also working with universities that are interested in putting programs in place as part of their curriculum where the students, before they graduate and get ready for an MBA or the labor market, where they can actually be trained on the nitty-gritty of test preparation. Can you move on to the second slide, please?
Mm-hmm.
So we already for the and that's the higher education piece I just mentioned, the higher education and admissions consulting. In addition to working with students on an individual basis, we work on a wholesale basis, if you will, on a corporate basis, by helping the universities put in place little programs that can fit into their curriculum, where students will actually learn skills that will enable them do better on the GMAT. So that's all I have for now about what we do at Famolex Integrated Consult to help with GMAT preparation for our candidates.
Thank you, Mr. Fakiyesi. And now I would like to ask another of our colleagues from Nigeria to speak from Total Ascent Consulting, Mr. Oluwatosin Okoji. Tosin, are you there?
Should we go off mute?
Oh, you're still muted.
Well, no.
No? No, you're still muted, Tosin.
So if you roll over the video, there should be a microphone icon at the top to mute and unmute.
Oh, there we go.
There
Can you
you go.
hear me?
Yep.
Great, great. Thanks. So thanks, Ron. If you get the slides up,
Yeah, pull them up, man. One moment.
Yes.
Hold them up.
It really is coming.
Getting there.
Oh, great. And if you could go to the second slide.
Yeah.
Jeremy has very fast hands.
Not fast enough.
Okay. Yeah.
Second slide. There you go.
Okay, great, great. So hello, everyone. My name is Tosin Okoje. I'm the CEO of a company called Total Ascent. In terms of who we are, I'll probably reiterate what you've heard from some of the earlier presenters. So we're a leadership development and training company. Our focus is really helping people succeed in life and business by providing them with what they need, the skills, the knowledge, the insights for them to succeed. And in terms of building leaders, which is the focus area for us, what we've seen is a test like the GMAT actually serves multiple purposes. For one thing, it's one of those steps to getting an MBA, which personally I feel is one of the most effective.
Are you there?
In corporate. Yes, hello?
Sorry, we lost you for a moment there. Could you repeat what you just said?
Okay, so I said we're a leadership development and training company. And for us, one of our focus areas is helping to build leaders that are able to play a role in the development of our economies across Africa. And there's obviously a huge gap in terms of the skill set and the competency compared with the demand requirements. What we see. Yes.
Just to interrupt, just for a moment, Kunle, could you mute your microphone, please? You're giving us an echo. Okay.
Okay.
Thank
Is this
you.
better?
Better.
Excellent. Okay. So once again, Total Ascent, we're a leadership development and training company. Our focus is helping to break the gap between the demand in terms of competence and leadership capability and what's required in terms of the growing economies we have across Africa. And one of the things that we've seen has been a useful tool is the Gmat exam. Now, on the one hand, it's one of the steps to getting your MBA, which is actually a very good tool that provides you with the skill sets to be effective, whether you're an entrepreneur or working in government or in business. But in addition, as has been mentioned earlier, there is the element of also equipping you with skill sets that are just necessary for life: critical reasoning skills, communication skills, logical thinking skills. And so as part of what we do in empowering individuals and organizations, we offer test prep services for the GMAT. We also train on a number of other skills that are useful in building leaders. So if you could go to the next slide. We're based in Lagos, in Nigeria, and we have some presence in Abuja. And in terms of preparing students for the GMAT, a lot of what has been said is, what we've also come to see. You see a lot of really good candidates, people who have the potential, but there's a stopgap, something that stops them, which is the GMAT exam. Sometimes it's not fair because people don't like to fail. I call it failure phobia. Sometimes it's a lack of understanding. Sometimes it's the cost implications. But what we do is we've come up with a program which we call Gmat Prep Plus. We offer classroom Gmat Prep classes as well as one-on-one services in Lagos and in Abuja. We have an online portal which has a plethora of Gmat Prep questions, diagnostic tools that enable you to track your progress and kind of give you a bit more insight into how to prepare more effectively. And then we have a number of initiatives, and I'll speak to the initiatives later on. Now, Gmat Prep Plus is an initiative we have where we're trying to utilize people who've been through the process to take others through it. The sense being, if you've done it before and been able to do it effectively, then you can not only encourage others to do so, but you can also provide the insights of your personal experience. Our tutors are Nigerians like myself who've been through the process and have performed well on the GMAT, and so we're taking from our own personal experience to teach what we've done and what has worked for us and other people to help candidates prepare effectively and to understand the content. What we've seen, we also have a number of initiatives, as you'll see, under the second sub-bullet under Gmat Prep. Last Thursdays is an initiative, a networking event we have on the last Thursday of every month, where we invite in alumni from different business schools to come and share their experience for prospective candidates. The idea behind it is the personal experiences give people an understanding of the different options they have and the different ways, both in preparing for the exam and also in getting the most out of the application process, looking for financial aid, figuring out what the right school to attend is, understanding how to prepare effectively so when you do get in, you get the most out of the program. And even beyond the program, how do you go about finding the right sort of job to build yourself? Even and preparing for the program, what sort of things could you do in terms of your career to ensure that you have the right level of experience and exposure to ensure that the MBA experience itself, you make the most out of it. We run workshops specifically on the analytical writing assessment and the integrated reasoning, particularly because integrated reasoning is a bit new in terms of the portfolio of sections in the GMAT. And we offer mentoring services just to ensure people can get the most out of it. What we've seen is for our students who've been able to track their progress, and we've seen about an average improvement in the score of about 40%, which is pretty good. We do get a lot of students coming in, and the initial assessment has them in the 3 to 400 range, which ties with the earlier chart that we saw. Well, good enough. We see that our methods are working. We're getting students who are churning out scores in the 650s and early 700s, which I think speaks to the fact that it's an all-encompassing program, which also uses the personal experiences, can be effective. Okay, if you could go to the next slide, that would be great. Yeah, and so really, this is our contact information. A lot of what we've discovered is stuff that we've already mentioned, and I'm sure there'll be other questions as we go along, so I'll be happy to answer them.
Okay, thank you, Tosin. And what I'd like to do now is do a quick wrap-up and open the floor for, or open the screens for question and answer. First of all, if you could bring my deck back up.
Sure.
First of all, what you may have heard here, I'm hopeful that everyone heard that preparation is very important, that understanding the format of the test, being familiar with the types of questions that are being asked, to invest the time and the effort in preparation is something that has implications beyond taking the test. And hopefully you will understand that there is, no matter how you perform or how you performed at first, you can always improve your performance through practice. What I'm like you to understand now is what happens next. You go ahead and you begin your preparation process. There are lots of opportunities for practice. There are lots of materials that you can use. I would encourage you to go to mba.com to look at some of those that I brought up earlier, some of the preparation materials like these that are available at mba.com. Depending on what your approach is, there are even some ways to use the software to actually design your preparation. And what I mean by that is you can create your own question set, for instance, with the software, with the Gmat Prep software that you find on mba.com. Once you do the practice, you understand where you are or what kinds of items you are having some difficulty with. You can actually add those to your basket of items that you will focus on, and then practice more, like you saw in one of the earlier slides, and a person who was very good in the quantitative focused more on the verbal, and vice versa. But what you want to make sure that you do is to take the exam as maybe at first as a diagnostic, and then do some practice. Take the test again, okay, and repeat that cycle until you complete. You've heard that there are courses, there are resources right where you are that can help you to prepare for the exam. But understand that no matter what course you take, or no matter what assistance you receive in the preparation, that the work of preparation belongs to you. It is going to be you who has to put in the time to practice the items, you who has to invest the effort to make that happen. The test prep organizations and consultants can help guide your practice in many respects. In the end, though, it will be you who will be doing the practice. And now, I'd like to open the channels for any questions that you might have, and you can text those questions in, and we'll answer them as best we can. Also, if there are any members of the press who are available or who have joined us, please note your presence in the chat room. Just let us know that you're here. Thank you.
So yeah, just to reiterate where the question app is located. So for anyone viewing, if you look at the top of your screen, there should be a little icon that looks like a 3x3 grid. It's a little square icon. You click into there, and then click into the Q&A app. That'll be where where you can submit your questions for the team we've assembled here to answer. And we do have one question here that I can see already. It would be, what should be the best plan that we suggest for preparing for the verbal section? So is anyone on the call that would like to address that?
Elsa, you made some comments earlier about that.
Yes, having taught preparation for the verbal section for many years, the best preparation is, first of all, to find out exactly what the test requires of you. The verbal section is divided into 3 sections. One appears to test grammar. It's actually testing patterns of sentence creation. One looks at how do we make deductions, and one is reading comprehension. So going back to my point about the test is not difficult, it is unfamiliar, the first step is to have a look at the test, exactly as Dr. Siebert has said. Once you've done that, don't panic, because at first it's very easy to think, well, I can't do that, or I didn't like grammar in schools. Once you understand what the questions are asking you, it is a great deal easier to find out the right answer and to work out what is the right answer. So the first point is always to go to the test, have a look at what it's asking. I absolutely agree with Dr. Siebert has said, use, for example, the Gmat Prep stuff and familiarize yourself with what is required. Then you practice and test yourself. And my biggest piece of advice to people is to look up why you got the answer right. When people are testing themselves, they understandably look up why they got the answer wrong. But you can learn as much from seeing why you got it right, because then you turn it from what might be perceived as a lucky guess into actual knowledge that you can recall.
Thank you, Elsa. Are there any other comments or responses to that question? And please remember to unmute your mic before you begin speaking.
I'd just like to add, you can't overemphasize the importance of practice. And what I tend to also advise candidates is look for every opportunity to practice, because it's not just a test of your knowledge and your ability to apply, it's also your ability to think through those things very quickly and respond very quickly. So something, for example, like reading comprehension, what a lot of candidates don't realize is it's actually part of your everyday life. So whatever strategies, whatever practice you do on the Gmat, utilize it in your day-to-day. As you read a newspaper, summarize the paragraphs if that's the strategy you use. As you read a document, as you read an email, so you utilize the same skills in your day-to-day. Critical reasoning, some of the elements around it are how do you draw inferences or look at assumptions. Use that deliberately in your day-to-day, so it becomes a part and parcel of who you are, because it's not, as we've said, just a preparation for an exam. It's also building skill sets that are useful in life, and you can leverage that in terms of ensuring that you practice and embed those principles in your day-to-day. That would be my advice.
Very good. Thank you, Tosin. We have another question here. What is the best way to get started on your Gmat study plan? I had an interesting experience with one of my colleagues, a former Gmat test taker who is now head of a financial services firm. He talked to me about why it was that he did well on the exam and what the response of his colleagues was. He said that he did very well on the Gmat exam. He's a graduate from an Ivy League school here in the United States, a Nigerian gentleman, and he said, what it took for me was to practice and to really plan my study time, plan my preparation time. And the way that he said that he did that was he put a calendar on the back of his door in his bedroom, and he actually marked off the times that he would plan to devote to Gmat practice, Gmat preparation. He stuck to that schedule, and when he finished, he scored over 700 on the exam. Now, when he went back to his country and he spoke to his colleagues about that, he said that he described his approach, and then they said they looked at him as though he had 3 heads, because they didn't understand why to practice for something like that for so long. But the fact is that it was effective, and the way that he got started to answer the question was by planning. I see another question, said this person has spent 3 months getting up to speed on the fundamentals for the quant section, evenings and weekends. Was it more beneficial to spend a large portion of time on practice questions and less on fundamentals going forward? Well, again, I'll defer also to my colleagues online. What I've seen and what we've seen in the analysis is that it is the time that you put into practice that is really the most beneficial. Remember that this is skill acquisition and skill development. Learning the concepts underlying or thinking about or philosophizing about what the approach is to it is only going to take you so far. The actual practice on doing the items and understanding the nature of the questions, the format of the questions, and then answering them and exercising your ability to think quickly, to rationalize, and to solve problems is what results in skill development. And I'll ask my other colleagues if they have comments along those lines or to answer that question. I welcome you to do so.
Well, to add to what Ron said, the important thing is to practice, but at the same time, the fundamentals are also important. They also have a value, especially for those that have left school a very long time ago. Before you start the GMAT, it's advisable to actually go back and dust up on the fundamentals, just to be sure you still remember your basic skills. Having said that, the key is not to get bogged down in going over the fundamentals to the extent that you devote most of the time you should be spent practicing to looking over fundamentals. Take a quick look at the fundamentals to brush up, then go right into practice. That would be my advice.
Thank you. Thank you. Anyone else?
Okay. So we had a question come in on the event page for this event here. The question was regarding integrated reasoning and how to best prepare for the integrated reasoning section.
Tosin, you had some comments about that earlier. Would you like to start?
Everybody here is all right? No.
Oh.
Not sure what's happening. Did you lose our audio?
Can someone signal us to tell us whether you can hear us?
I can hear you.
Okay. There was a question on our Plus event page about how one might best prepare for integrated reasoning. Well, and I was wondering if anyone had comments or responses to that. I remember Tosin made some comment or some reference to it. Tosin, would you like to comment?
Sure. Yes, no problem. So, like I mentioned, integrated reasoning is a much newer section of the GMAT. we run a couple of workshops, but there are two things I would say are critical in preparing for it. One is you've got to practice, because that brings about the familiarity. It's a different set of types of questions, and it tests your skill sets in a whole new way. So practice as much as possible. But similar to what someone else said, it's not just practicing, it's also the insights it gives you. You've got to start to understand how to go about answering the questions quickly. When you do get them correctly, what did you do right? And how can you identify those sort of scenarios again? Where you got it wrong, where did you go wrong? Was it an understanding of the concept? Was it how you read the question? You know, it really is about practice. Each type of question has a typical strategy for how you can break it down and how you can assess it, so you can get to the answer a lot easier. But you can't get to that point unless you practice. So, like I say, practice makes perfect. That would be my advice. But practice with the end in mind of gaining insight into how to be more effective in answering those questions.
Very good, thank you. Other comments, and also maybe to raise a recall a comment that Professor Smith made about not only focusing on what it is that you did wrong, but also understanding why it is that you got the answer right. I would suppose that also applies to integrated reasoning practice as well. Now I'm going to take a last question. How long before I submit my business school application should I take the exam? How long before that? Actually, you can take it at any point before you apply. What's important is the amount of time that you invest in preparation before you take the exam. As long as you get your scores as well in advance of the application deadline, I'd say that you're safe. So that's going to be the issue for the application itself. The mistake that many students make is that they don't give themselves enough time after they register for the exam to practice for the exam before taking it. So a very common scenario is for the student to wait until it's time for them to apply to business school, quickly register for the exam, and then take it, maybe a week later, which gives them, maybe 12 seconds to prepare. So what they really need to be focusing on is the time and planning and preparation, and then making sure that when you apply for your program, that you have your GMAT score in hand before the application is submitted. Okay, that's right. My colleague is reminding me. The scores are valid for 5 years. And so you can take the exam early while the academics are still fresh in your mind, and your scores will be good for that 5-year period after you've taken it. Thank you, Vinny. Okay. Yes. Okay, so thank you all again, especially for our presenters, for sharing your insights and your information. This has been a very successful Hangout. It looks like over 300 people were registered for participating in this, and so we're very happy with that kind of turnout, and hopefully we will see some results in terms of the numbers of people that are interested and more prepared for the GMAT for the African continent.
Yeah. So, and if you missed any part of this, we will be sending an email out to everyone that viewed it that has a link to view the entire video that we already recorded. So if you want to go back and watch it again, you will be able to do that. All right.
Again, many thanks to all of you, and farewell. We'll speak soon.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.